controller destroyed. No question. Wall dented. Hey everybody, it's RL, the Retro Pizza Guy, and welcome back to my channel of love of retro and pizza. But for the Retro Life reviews, there is no pizza, but there's CK. Hey CK, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. Welcome back to my channel, and we're going to be reviewing the classic game Bucky O'Hare for the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. I actually reviewed it already by myself, but hey, it's such a great game, I thought it'd be cool for us to review it as well.
Bucky O'Hare, developed and produced by Konami in '92, was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System platform as a shoot-'em-up arcade adventure game.
Alright, so we review everything on a like, love, and loathe scale with graphics, music and sound, gameplay controls, difficulty, fun factor, and replay value. So what did you think of the graphics in Bucky O'Hare, CK?
The graphics in Bucky were... It's like old Konami. When I say old Konami, people might recognize, things like, well, it's primarily Contra, where you'll have a lot of black as filler in the background. Every part of the level is not filled with some type of color or sprite, and it makes it feel simple. It actually is fairly simple, actually. I like the sprites primarily because they are kind of chunky. Even if it's an 8-bit, and yes, 8-bit was chunky back in the day, this is still very kind of chunky on top of the blockiness. So it gives it a very cartoony feel, like kind of a chibi or miniature version character type of feel to it. And other than that, really, I mean, the details are there enough for you to see levels. Like bricks and rocks have shading, and the levels have definitely textures, so you know what ice looks like, grass looks like grass, stones look like stones, metal looks like metal for the most part, especially for 8-bit. But outside of that, it's, as I said from the beginning, it's pretty basic graphically as a game, and because it doesn't really punch any buttons for me, I give it a retro-like.
Alright, nothing special for you. It's retro-like is reasonable. It's not terrible, of course, but it's definitely not a love or a double love. I have a feeling it's going to be a non-double love experience on your end.
Non-double love experience. Yeah, I mean, graphics are huge. Graphics are a huge part for me in games. And when a game fails on the graphics part, it's got to excel in the gameplay.
Alright,
I'm
different from you. So graphics for me, I find this game looks a lot better than you're admitting. So I don't know what levels you've been playing, but I feel the game has a very much almost like a high-end NES, kind of close to a Super NES graphics. I mean, maybe I haven't played Super NES in a long time, but I feel this game is on the higher end of details and graphics for the NES. It is a later game. It didn't come out the first run of the NES, so what is it, 1990, right?
90.
But it's
92.
92?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a later game, and I find they're bright, big sprites. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of pop in there. There's a level where you're on like a planet and it's like craters on there. I just love the look of that level. It has such a beautiful, I mean, the colors are basic. It's purple, orange, and greens, and mauve, I suppose, like earth colors. But as a detail for the game for this era, like if you compare it to Contra, I mean, I love Contra, but this is way more detailed than Contra. You have to admit that.
I don't admit that. Contra is a better looking game than Bucky O'Hare.
You find it Contra's a better looking game than Bucky O'Hare?
Better looking game than Bucky O'Hare.
I don't know. Maybe it's a style of the graphics that you don't find.
It's the style of the graphics primarily, but Contra and any game in this, even for '92, it being a late game, personally, again, it is personal opinion, that this game, I feel, could have been released in '89 and would have looked great, but for '92, it's not.
I don't know. All right, well, we differ there, but I mean, as I said, there's a lot of different varieties of level designs. The graphics are colorful, they're big, you see what's going on. It's not like it's not choppy in any way. Well, that's nothing to do with graphics, but it does play a part. I love the graphics. I'm going to give it not a double love. I'm going to give the graphics a love. I loved it. I'm really surprised that you didn't like it as much as I did. I really was a little bit surprised. But hey, we're different, and you appreciate what you appreciate, and I just love the graphics in this game. I really think it's really nice. All right, so moving on to music and sound. What did you think of the music and sound in Bucky O'Hare, CK?
I enjoyed the music and sound in this game. The sound effects for the era. Again, we always have to look back at era. And for era, it is Konami to a T. Every Konami game between like 1990 and 94 pretty much used the same synths and the same tones. And as I was listening to the intro of the game, and I'll give you this little story before I jump into the rating, my brain instantly went to Blades of Steel and Battletoads. For whatever reason, those two games jumped out at me right away with regards to just the way it sounds, the way it feels. And so I had to go back and look up those games online to kind of listen to the tones. And I'm just like, yeah, this is the same things, same chords. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the composers or at least, are in the same circle, if not the same people. I didn't look that far into it, but it really did feel like it. I did like the energy and the flow of the level tracks. Those things did keep me, again, graphically it really wasn't there, but the music was, and the music really kept me in the mode that, we're on a mission, we're on the run, it's a run and gun type of thing, and it really does help. Sound effects served their purpose, and they were good for what they were, because again, there's not a lot of stuff going on. Some gun shooting here and there, specific sprites that were particular textures have different sounds, which is nice. Everything doesn't sound like it's the same material, and the music really punches. So for that, I give it a retro double like.
All right, that sounded to me like you loved it. All right, but hey, double like is better than a like. All right, so moving on to music and sound for me. I'll start with the sound effects because that's might as well get it out of the way. They're nothing special. There's a lot of stuff in there that's like, the bouncing stuff sounds a little annoying. It's like a little bit tink, tink, tink sounds, and
yes.
and I don't like that. So the sound effects do not impress me, and there are not a lot of them, so it's not like it's terrible. But I found it's just basic, and basic at that era. The music is going to be the key factor, and everything else is just there to make it so it's not like silently jumping, right, or silently shooting something. Music is good. It's not the greatest, but it is up there with a game that is not annoying. I think that's how I review the game. If the music is annoying, it's going to get a freaking Loath, but if it's somewhere in the middle, it'll be a like. I believe it's a little bit above the likes. I really did enjoy a lot of the tracks, and they are entertaining. Don't know which levels exactly that I like the most, but I do believe it's better than a lot of the games on the NES. There were some static sounds that I noticed and that goes for the sound effects. Some moments where I heard like staticky sounds, which really annoyed me. That's why I was, a little annoyed with the sound effects in the game. It's not constant, but it did happen. It's an enjoyable musical game that is nothing to write home about, but it's not terrible. I will give it a retro double like for sound, music and sound for me.
All right.
All right, moving on to gameplay. What did you think of the gameplay in this game, CK?
The gameplay was interesting in this game for two primary factors. One, I guess something that I kind of like, but something that I kind of didn't like about this game, and I guess this is what makes it different. And I say didn't like as in like because I'm not used to it. It uses left and right and up and down navigations on levels. And certain levels you honestly don't know until you're moving, or you recognize it by the opposition coming from the opposite direction. And that to me, design wise, isn't the greatest thing when you build a game, because like Mega Man, you know that you're moving right and you're moving up or you're moving down. And most games have a left to right format. Almost every freaking platformer anywhere since games have been created, it's always been more or less left to right. So that's a de facto thing. That's just a default. Everybody recognizes that. Certain games where you can go the opposite way on a level, it's usually for extra stuff that's hidden behind, the start point in the level, or that you start out on the right side of the level and you move right. And that's what they do in this game. And that's the only indicator on how you know which way you're supposed to be going is because you're supposed to traverse across the screen. So if you
Mm.
start on the right hand side, you're going left. You start on the left hand side, you're going right. I do like the fact that it does have multiple directions, and that to me again brings that gameplay feature back up into a higher score. And um, the fact that you can switch characters live on the level is probably one of those things that don't have to happen often in games that have multiple characters, but it seems so natural with games that have multiple characters to be able to switch between them live in gameplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not a lot of
Like,
games do that. I think there's one game, Alicia Dragoon had that same thing. You could do that in that game
yeah,
on the Sega
yeah.
Genesis.
There's quite a few of them that have it for the reason, and it's a mechanic that is implemented for a reason. Games like well, let's look at the Sonic and Tails, Sonic 2, right? You have a two-player option here. What's another one that has it as well? Animaniacs, actually. Funny enough, produced and developed by Konami as well, only 2 years
Wow.
later. Yeah.
Not a surprise that there
No, but yeah,
originality there.
for Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, you can flip between them. They obviously have different skills. I think the Tiny Toons games as well. You can switch between the characters on level for certain areas where you require that change, and that to
Right.
me really brings up the gameplay factor in this game, and something that I enjoyed that saved it for me. Not to say I didn't
Okay.
like the game, but it was
Okay.
definitely challenging to a point until you realize, oh, once you start to gain more characters, you can flip between them for parts of the level, and you do have to strategically to play this game well. And because of
Yeah.
that, I give gameplay a retro love. That is
Oh,
actually an
you're
important thing.
you're making your way up the love scale. It started at double love. I wonder if it's going to go to double love or it's going to go back down. It's suspenseful. I'm curious to know, but at least you love that part of the game.
I did. I did like the gameplay of it.
I
did like
was-
the gameplay a lot. A lot.
I was starting to think this was our retro Loath review on your side, but not quite. I'm just joking. Yeah, the gameplay, again, side-scrolling. I believe the gameplay is really awesome. I think a lot of originality in this game. It does have a little bit at times feeling a little like a Mario game, but not. Obviously, it's not. It's got more advancements than Mario. I don't want to bash Mario. Mario 3 is an amazing game on the NES. The first Mario game, and even the Mario 2, Super's not on the NES. It's not in a Super NES game. I'm still thinking Super NES a bit. But this game has a lot of originality, and you're right. It goes from left to right, right from left. It's not a lot of games have that switching it up and going up or down. I find it makes it for more diverse levels, and it doesn't get boring. There's so much. You could choose your planets. You have options. You don't have to always start from the same level, which I really like. I love the level. One of my favorite levels is the level where you're on this planet, like a moon, and you got craters. I just love the look of that level. And it's basic, but there's other levels where you're jumping on these space stations, space vehicles, and you're going up, up, up.
Yes.
And a little annoying, but it's fun. It's
Very
different,
annoying, actually.
and it's annoying. But once you start to get used to it, it's not as annoying. But it's so much. It's enjoyable. There's a rail section where you're on a rail train, like Indiana Jones in a way, and it is a little annoying. But once you get good at it, you get really good at it, and it's fun. There's so many amazing level choices and gameplay choices, and it mixes it up well enough that it doesn't linger. And I think that's one of the strengths of this game, is that it's very diverse and it's not repetitive. And I like that in a game, because there's not a lot of games in this era that is like that. Most games are very straightforward. You're going one side, or you're going the other side, you shoot, you kick, and that's about it. And this game, it's different enough that it's original. I like the originality. It's one of the most original games on the NES. I really love this game. The gameplay is really enjoyable. And I think you know where I'm going with this. The gameplay, for me, gets a retro double love. It deserves it. It's excellent gameplay, and it's so much fun. I really want to play this game. I actually want to have it in my collection, because it is one of the more entertaining original games on that system, and I'm not exaggerating. I love a lot of games, but this one is one of the most original. And I love Contra. Contra's not that original. It's basic. This isn't basic. Nothing against Contra. It's one of my favorite games of all time on the system. But if I played this as a kid, I think I would have loved it just as much as Contra, but in a different way. So it's a double... Sorry?
I can see that.
It's a double love for me. Alright, so moving on to controls. What did you think of the controls in this game, CK?
As a side-scroller platformer, it does what it does. It plays quicker than Mario and Mega Man and some of those other ones. I feel like, and maybe it might just be the feel, or how it feels to me. I feel like the characters don't float as much in the jump. So when you're jumping in this game, it feels very direct, almost like they have weight. So you can move quickly through levels, and the fact that you can kind of jump and control your landing, which is nice. It's not like you gotta time distance and time pressure and stuff like that. Those games, they frustrate the crap out of me, and I really hate when controls are stiff and rigid that way. This game doesn't feel stiff and rigid by no means, and if anything, once you kind of get into the flow and you understand, the stop and go of this game, the controls become very natural. It feels like a Mario game. It feels like a Mega Man game. It doesn't feel like there's any type of hang-ups or sluggy response. There's almost no sluggy response. The power jump, which is pretty cool in it, that you can build up that meter too for the character. That's something I didn't recognize until later when I was holding the button. I'm like, what does this thing do? Why is he flashing? And then I realized I can't shoot with it. I thought it was like a power up the weapon, but really it was just kind of power up his hop, which is cool because he's a rabbit. So I was like,
Yep.
Oh, okay, that makes sense to me. And so I was going through, and I didn't feel any ways about the game being, awkward in controls. It's not as fluid as something like Contra, but it definitely isn't as slow like Mega Man. I feel like Mega Man's a little slower with regards to controls, moving your character and controls, and a lot more rigid than this game is. So with those things in place and it aiding to the format of the gameplay, which again, everything supports the gameplay here, I give it a retro-like.
Oh, retro-like, yeah. No, I agree. You can't always love a game to the extent of Metal Warriors like last time, where that was a game that you adored. We both adored that game.
Ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, it ticked all the boxes. This one, not as much, but it's still a great game, as you could understand. Just not as many boxes being ticked this time. For me, controls, it's basic. Very much agree with you on many things you said. Mario, very similar to Mario. Tight. It wasn't loose. I always say that in controls. It doesn't feel loosey-goosey. And this game has some jumps that are tricky. There are some moments where when you're on the ship level where you sometimes feel like it's a little bit harder to maneuver and you could probably die closer. But I don't find it that distracting in terms of movement, in terms of actually feeling like you're getting cheated because you can't jump properly because it's not tight enough. The controls are tight and they work. And they work, and they damn right better work, because this game has a lot of variation in level and gameplay. And if the controls are not good, this game would suck ass.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This would be a retro Loath review, not a retro love review on my end. But that's not the case. This game, there's a level where you're in the planets and you're jumping on these craters, on the asteroids. You're jumping on the asteroids from planet to asteroid. That is freaking tricky as fuck. And so if you don't master the controls in this game on that level alone, I would throw my controller against the wall and smash it. It was so freaking hard, but it was hard fair. It wasn't hard like, oh my god, these controls are brutal. The controls were spot on. Yeah. And it has to be in a level like that, because you cannot attempt a level like that with the asteroid jumping if the controls are loose and shitty. And thank God it's not the case. They took the time to polish the controls because they are really good. And I love that level, and I could have hated it level. And especially the mine rail level, where you have to jump a certain time and you have to pinpoint the next jump at a certain section. And I'm telling you, if you didn't have the tight controls in that, again, controller destroyed. No question. Wall dented. So for me, controls get a love. It's a retro love. Maybe not a double love, because who really controls give a double love to controls? I guess you can. But a love is fair. So I will go with a love.
Sounds good.
All right. So moving on to difficulty. What did you think of the difficulty of Bucky O'Hare, CK?
It is a ramping difficulty, and I will honestly say, and you may agree with this, and you've definitely expressed the experience of this, that it is a skill level difficulty type of game. If you have your jumping on point, if you have your timing on point, if you understand how to maneuver the characters and within, the tight controls that this game has, it's not difficult, it's challenging. And there is a difference there because, a difficult game would make it unbearable to try over and over and over, and you're incrementally making small gains. Whereas in this game, it feels like that at first because you really have to understand the levels, because the variety of levels again, and the variety of skills that are required to maneuver through these levels. Even though levels aren't long, they do require a lot of patience, a lot of timing, and just reaction time. And with regards to the level orders, which also adds to the difficulty, there is like Mega Man, there is an ideal order that you should be playing in to gather the next character so that you can have that assistance for the next levels, because there are certain levels where you just can't get past, like the ice planet, the blue planet. I started there. Oh no, when I started on yellow first, but then I went to. So I think yellow's the one with the craters, but I went to the blue planet after, and I was doing my jumping and I was making through. I'm like, oh, there's not a lot of baddies here, and I got to like this barricade with ice, and I'm maybe trying to super jump it. I'm thinking maybe it's below, or maybe I can kind of jump and slide a bit because you can slide on the blocks a little, like when you character quick stops, he has a little bit of a slide. I couldn't get past it at all, not realizing I required Blinky. I needed the robot to be able to break the ice block so that I can move through the level. And so that in itself creates that gate, that difficulty gate where you just had to figure it out. And I guess as a kid without a guide and without any friends that have played through it, you just had to figure it out. So there is a massive hill, but once you kind of get over the hill, difficulty leans out, and then it just becomes a skill level thing. And once you get good at this game, it becomes enjoyable. And that's crazy about a game where it seems like the harder it is, the less people would enjoy it naturally. But the challenge in the difficulty eases out as you get better, and you only get better with more gameplay. And it's one of those things that force you to try different things over and over and over. And for that reason, difficulty gets a double like. There's not a love. It's like it was on the edge of, I really like the way they gauge the difficulty, but when I was the first half an hour of me playing this game, man, I could have tossed controllers. And I'm working through trying to figure out why this. Okay, there's got to be there's choice of levels, which means there's got to be an order. My brain went there right away because I'm familiar with the Mega Man stuff. I'm familiar with other games where you have to kind of pick certain levels first, just because there is there's a difficulty ramp and also an accessibility that is needed before you go to the next level. And I felt like this game had it, and it took me a while to kind of figure out what Bucky can do before I got to the next person. And certain planets I couldn't get to. So process of elimination, I ended up working it out. And then I went to look it up online, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there is a fixed order. Okay. So it's one of those things where you got to know, and if you didn't know, good luck to you, because it would be a hell of a hill to climb before you really got into the groove of this game.
Thank goodness for Google now.
That's true. So in all honesty, I give it a double like. Yeah, that's a retro double like for this particular game because of the difficulty baked into the game.
Right. All right. No, that's fair. I think that's very fair. I mean, double like is fair. I mean, giving it a double love makes no sense at sometimes with difficulties. I think if you like it, if it's too hard, it could be a loathe because you don't like that, or it's too easy, it could be a loathe. So it ranges from, the like area for difficulty is where it is. So we'll see what I think. For me, difficulty, I mean, it's fair. I think it is hard. It's a game that you need to practice. You need to really get good at it, but it's not a difficulty that's cheating difficulty. There's a difference there. There's a lot of games that cheat the difficulty. They make it really, really, really annoyingly hard, and to a point where you just don't feel you have an option to be good at it, depending on your skill level, of course. But there's some games that just it's not fair. It's just this era especially, there's so many hard games on the NES because there's smaller games, so they had to extend it to make them a little bit feel like a longer game, because if it was too easy, you'd pass it in 2 seconds, and you don't want to pass a game in 2 seconds because you're not going to pay $80 for a game that's 2 seconds long.
No, you
so
don't.
It makes sense that they would want to make it harder as possible because these games are very short. So like Contra, same thing, It's not a very long game. It's only got 8 levels, but if it was too easy, it would feel like a 10-second game. Anyways, Bucky O'Hare, the difficulty is just right. It's not too difficult, and me, I'm not the greatest gamer. I mean, I have a hard time playing these NES games. They're very tricky, and I don't have a lot of practice with them, but a lot of times I get frustrated, and a lot of games like, Mega Man, really, really hard. Difficulty is through the roof on Mega Man. All the Mega Man games. I'm having a hard time keeping any slices on that friggin' series. With Mega Man. I think Castlevania and Contra are easier than that. Well, maybe not Contra, but Mega Man's a freaking hard game. This game is hard, but it's fair hard. So yeah. I could really appreciate that, because you know how you could get better, and you realize why it's difficult in certain areas, and it's not hard where you think, what the freak is this game trying to do? Are they masochists? Are they trying to kill us or something? I mean, obviously they're trying to get us to put more quarters in there, I don't know. This is not a quarter game. But anyways, difficulty is the right kind of difficulty. There were moments where it was a little harder than I would have liked, but it was something that I got better at. I even passed that section, the mine section, which is really, really hard, but it wasn't hard enough that I couldn't pass it. So I like it. I'll give difficulty a retro love. It's a love because it's fair difficulty. Anything that's fair difficulty, I'm going to give it a love. All right. Yeah, I think that's fair. No? Yes. Fair. All right, so moving on to the fun factor. What do you think the fun factor is in Bucky O'Hare, CK?
Once you get good at the game, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'll summarize the whole thing by basically saying that it took me quite a bit to really get past the frustration of, why can't I get past this level? Why can't I get past this level? Oh, right, there's level orders. Okay, fine. Now it's like, okay, there's different, I think there's about 4 acts per level, like there's kind of 4 sections before you get to the boss. And you do, due to the variety of the level design, you do have to kind of get good at them, and they're all different. They all feel different. The mechanics are there, right? It's all the same mechanics, don't get me wrong, but they're played on differently through every level, and that fun factor comes in when you start to see the true challenge in the game. Not just getting beat, dying, and feeling defeated. It goes into the, I can do this. I know I can do this. And then when you succeed, it's that kind of fist pump. Yes, okay, great. I've mastered that. That's done. And for that reason, the game gets better as you play more. But it's, like I said, it's that weird ramp where it's really, really hard before it kind of plateaus, and then it gets really good after that.
Right.
To summarize, I guess like this game is kind of in this pocket for me. It's a retro-like, and I like the game. I like the execution. I like the things about the game. I don't love any one part of it, other than the fact that you can switch characters live on the level, which is needed strategically. And I've always liked that about games with multi-characters, and they executed it very well in this one.
All right, so you're giving it a retro like, right?
It gets a retro like.
You snuck the like in there of all your talking, so it wasn't as distinctive, but that's okay. It's a retro like. I'm a little surprised that I know I'm saying I'm surprised a lot, but I really thought you would like it a little bit more because of the level designs and the differences in learning curve, but the differences in levels and all the things and the colors. I don't know. I'm a little surprised, that's all. But not a bad surprise, just a little surprise. I thought you'd give it a love. Anyway, I guess I really love this game, as you can tell. I love it quite a bit. Alright, so fun factor for me, it's a really fun game. I really think it's a fun game. I love the diversity of this game. I love the colors of the game. I love the style of the characters. I love the animations. I just love everything about the game. It's so diverse, it's so different. There's not a repetitive level at all. Every level is unique. You can choose which order you want to play the game in, so there's so much replay value there. You have different characters you could choose from. It's a fun looking game. It's got so much fun elements to it, and I'm not the best at it, and there were times where I was frustrated because I couldn't get very far, but the game looks so enjoyable and worth the wait of getting better. And can't say that to a lot of games where you're playing and you're saying, well, what's the point? You're just doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, there's some great games on the NES, but there's a lot of repetitive games too, you know. And there's not that they're not great. I mean, what was the game? Double Dragon for one. I mean, you're just kicking and you're kicking, and I'm not a fighting kind of guy. You know, it's like Streets of Rage, it's the same style. But I fell for the NES. Those kind of games are kind of like very repetitive, and I don't like it. This game is not repetitive. It's got so much originality. There's so much level of choices and variations. I know I'm repeating myself, but it needs to be stated. It needs to be emphasized. This game doesn't get enough credit. It's not popular in the grand scheme of things, and luckily we're not doing an influence score, because it'd probably get a 0, because there was really very little influence in this game. But we're not talking about influence, but it's a shame, because this game, in my opinion, is just as good as a Mario game on this era. In fact, I think it's better in many ways. And I love I love Mario, and Mario is so popular.
And better than Mega Man.
It's better than Mega Man, and I mean, nothing against those games. We're not trying to bash those games. They're excellent games for a reason, but this game is like painfully disappointing that this game is not as popular as those franchises, because it deserves to be. It's a crime that this game really, I don't think it ever got a sequel. I don't think it's ever been on the Super NES, or I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've never seen it on any other consoles. When I played it for the first time, I never heard of the game, and I was shocked how good it was and how it's such an obscure game. Not many people know of this game. It's like it's in its own time capsule era, and it doesn't get talked about anymore, and that's a shame. And hopefully this review maybe could spark some love of this game and maybe get the ball rolling of enjoyment, because it deserves it. And you know where I'm going with this score right now, right? I mean, anyways, but I'm not going to digress, because I'm going to continue a little bit. It deserves every accolade I give it. It is an incredible, fun game. I've not had this much fun with an NES game. I don't think any other NES game. This is number one, just under Contra, and I like it better than Contra because it's so diverse and so different, and I respect the fact that they did so much differences. They changed it up, they mixed it up, they didn't rest on their laurels. They took a chance and made it a unique game, and they could have messed it up, because it could have been, all these sections couldn't have meshed well together, and it could have made a big mess of a game, because it didn't make any sense. Pick a style, way, right? Yep. It didn't feel that way. It worked in so many ways. So I will digress now. It gets, as you know, a double, maybe even a triple. No, double love. It's a double love. I was almost thinking of a triple, but it's way better than a love. It gets a double love for me. It's an experience that needs to be viewed and played. Please do. Alright, that's my advertisement for this game. It's not a review, it's an advertisement.
That's a good sell.
I didn't plan it. It just came out naturally. Alright, moving on to replay value. What did you think of the replay value in Bucky O'Hare, CK?
It is pretty much a forced replay value. When I say forced, as in you're expected to replay this over and over. You're expected to try different levels starting out as different characters, as opposed to trying to play in the order that is optimal, because you'll only ever learn the optimal order after playing this over and over and over again. So replay value gets kicked up a couple notches for that reason alone. And again, there's not many other games, if anything, not any other games really, that plays like Bucky O'Hare. Level design, gameplay, including with the mechanics. I think I forgot to mention about the fact that you can shoot straight and upward. Again, certain games that you run around like Mega Man, you can't shoot up, you can't shoot down, you literally shoot side to side and everything else is jumping. This game allows you to jump and shoot down. It allows you to shoot upwards at enemies as well as run and gun. It has all of those things that make you want to be better. And ultimately, skill level makes this game more enjoyable, and skill level is what will create more replay value in this game. And because of that, it gets a retro double like.
Oh, a double like. Conservative, but fair. You like the game. You don't love the game.
I like the game. It's a hard like. It's a very, very hard like this game. It's on the border of a like. I would double like it overall if they would summarize, but for each of the individual elements, the replay value is a double like, because I can understand where someone can play this, be like F this game and never pick it up again and not want to, because of all the challenges, because of all the variety, because it's not as straightforward as Mario or Mega Man.
Mario 3 is not very straightforward always, you know. The first Mario is very straightforward, I find, very simplistic, but I think for difficulty, if it's too difficult and it's not fair, I can understand people not wanting to play the game and getting fed up, but I can't think of people being reason not to play it because of the diversity, though. I think unless you like one particular level and then you don't like some styles, I suppose, and you wish they could stick to the same style because you don't want to veer off that style.
You don't want to learn anymore.
That's true.
There are players who play Mario and Mega Man because it is the same thing over and over, and you can hone that specific skill and you can get really, really good. Bucky O'Hare has no one vein. Different players play it different ways, but at the end of the day, they all get to a certain point and a certain skill level that is required to pass the game. So that, for me, that's where the replay value is kind of like, you're either on the side of, I just want to play through a game and not have to worry about learning a bunch of stuff, like Meta Warriors. You have to learn a lot to play that game successfully. Whereas Mega Man, you don't. Contra, you really don't. There are a lot of games that you really don't. So that's why I say it's a double like. It's not a love. But it's not definitely just a regular like. It's somewhere.
You could have triple liked it, maybe.
Yeah, triple like right underneath the love.
But yeah, double like is fair for the replay value. All right, so replay value for me, I think it's super high. The replay value is super high. I like the diversity. I like the gameplay, and the style of diversity matters too, right? It could be diverse for bad reasons. Some of the levels could be totally annoying as hell and just boring and just badly designed, but they're not. They're designed all very well, and they use the same elements in each level. It's not like reinventing the wheel. You're still a platforming game. You're still bouncing around. You're still trying to get onto levels. You're trying to do different things, whether you go up or you go to the side. I think it's more of a gimmick when you go to the other side instead of side scrolling to the right. Yeah. It's just to change it up. It doesn't make it much different. It's still a side scroller in that regard. I mean, there are sections where you're going up and you're moving on, puzzle kind of things where you're rotating and you're trying to figure out one's ways to get out of a little circular thing with lines. I'm looking at it right now, where you're fighting these little creatures in there, and it's kind of like looks like a screw, and you got to move it, and it's unique, it's very unique. It's not something that you've seen before, and because the graphics are good enough that they allow for it to be diverse, I think the replay value is through the roof. I mean, you got different characters, different weapons, the levels, and they look great, and they want to replay them to get better at them, and you want to see each way to handle each level, which one to do first, and all that. You could do different levels, different orders if you want, although there is an order that you're supposed to do, but you can switch it up if you want to. It's never the same order if you don't want it to be the same order, which creates replay value right there. That's alone is replay value. Instead of having to start from point A to point B, and you can never alter it, you can never change it up. This game replay value seems to be so synonymous with this game because of the changes and everything. So replay value is through the roof. I'm going to give it another double love.
All right, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's a retro double love. It's just the replay value it doesn't get boring. The game is so diverse. It's got so many things to keep you hooked and want to try it from a different perspective, different character. The look of the game is unique. It's nice. It pops. The colors help. I like the colors in the game a lot. It's unique. It's very diverse. It's original. It's Konami. They did a great job with this game. They didn't half-ass it. It's a very enjoyable game on many levels, and they put a lot of love in this game, and it deserved better than what it got in the universe. It never got a sequel, I don't think, and it's not as popular as Mario. And again, not bashing Mario. I love Mario. It deserves to be a game that's popular because it was a very unique and groundbreaking game for its time. It came out first. If maybe this game came out in 1985, it was one of the first NES games, it might have been loved just as much as Mario.
Oh, yeah.
But because it came out later in 92 and it was already late in the game and people were already used to these kind of games, it would have had more magic because it would have been more original. Sadly, that's pretty much the reason in my opinion, because this game deserves as much praise as Mario. It's an amazing game and it earns a double love. I don't give double loves that easily. I think this game deserves it. I believe I got the high. Alright, CK, so this is the portion of the review where we flip a coin, decide who gets to choose the next game. What game do you want to choose for next review, CK?
The next game that I'd like to play and review would be Joe and Mac 2 for the SNES.
Alright, so I'm going to choose Rolling Thunder 2 for the Sega Genesis.
Sequel versus sequel.
Two sequels going versus. So I flipped last time. You get the flip. I'm the high, so you flip the coin.
Okay.
And heads is high as always.
Heads is high. All right. I've got a coin here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Up. Back of the hand. It is heads.
Oh, 2 in a row. Nice.
Wow. Okay.
That's awesome. I'm getting some coin luck for a change. I think I'm catching up. All right, so I will choose. What will I choose? Let's choose. I'll just choose Rolling Thunder 2.
Yeah, I figured it's going to be Rolling Thunder 2. All good. You could always play a Joe and Mac any other time.
You could just pick it again until you win, you know? All right, CK, thanks for joining me in a review of Bucky O'Hare, a game that I clearly liked more than you did, but you didn't hate the game at least. You didn't give it any retro loathing. You just, everyone likes different games, and we like what we like. We love what we love.
That's right.
All right, so actually I got a surprise for everybody. I'm going to be doing my 100th episode of RO Plays, Lose a Life, Lose a Slice, and CK, you're going to be joining me for that episode, right?
That is right.
A special 100th episode of RO Plays Retro, Lose a Life, Lose a Slice. So CK is going to be there with me, and look out for that soon on my channel. All right, so on that note, thanks for being here, CK.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, can't wait to do it again very soon. All right, so on that note, we will have more retro content in the weeks, months, and years to come. Bye for now.
Ciao, folks.